Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells. I am the creator and host of this show. I am also the founder of the Feely Human Collective, where we collectively get mushy and messy and grapple with the beautiful powers of empathy, vulnerability, and emotional curiosity. We got some exciting things happening in the Feely Human world coming up in October. So if you want to stay in touch and be first to hear about that, make sure to sign up for the newsletter. If you go to feelyhuman.co and click on the banner there, you can sign up for the newsletter. That would be wonderful. This is a wonderful conversation. This is episode 232, talking about relationship empathy, married at first sight, and the 4 intimacy styles with Dr. Viviana Coles. Dr. Viviana and I explore the performing we do early in relationships, the adorable story of how Viviana met her husband, what Viviana has learned about human connection and empathy in relationships through being a panelist on the television show Married at First Sight, and Viviana's wonderful book, The 4 Intimacy Styles. Dr. Viviana is a relationship therapist, a sex therapist. She's wonderful. I really enjoyed this wayward, beautiful conversation. If you aren't a watcher, a viewer of Married at First Sight, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating show. Dr. Viviana was part of the show for a number of seasons and has since left. She announced her sort of parting ways amicably, lovingly back in July. But it's a fascinating show, and I think a couple of seasons are on Netflix, and you can watch them on Lifetime, I believe. But very fascinating show. We talk about that. We talk about intimacy. We talk about relationships. It's lovely. It was a lovely conversation. Before we get to the episode, though, just a reminder to please leave a rating and review for Yumi Empathy in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show. There are thousands of you who listen, and we don't even have 200 reviews. So I know that some of you listen and aren't reviewing. So please review. I know. I'm always bringing it up. It's probably annoying. I might get some unsubscribes, but for an independent podcaster like me, I get no help. It's just me. I do all the editing. I do all the promo. It's just me and these wonderful guests like Dr. Viviana. So if you have a few minutes, please do so. Take a moment to leave the podcast a rating and review. It does truly help. I appreciate it. And the reason, I'll just say, the reason for leaving a review is folks see it. The more reviews, the more it sort of climbs the charts in Apple, and the more people can possibly listen to the show, which is what this is about. It's not about numbers, but it is about having these vulnerable conversations and allowing for others on the other end, listeners like you, to say, oh, wow, I relate to that, or oh, that I see that. I see myself in that person. And that's the beauty of empathy and the connection we have together. So please, if you can, leave a rating and review. Make sure to subscribe to the newsletter. As I mentioned, top of the page at feelyhuman.co. Click that banner. And yeah, thank you for being a part of the community. We got some exciting things coming in October. If you're at all interested in being a beta user for this new community I'm building, just email me. Just email me at feelyhuman@gmail.com or yumiempathy@gmail.com. One of those 2 email addresses. If you're interested in being a beta user, someone who tests out the community before it launches to the public, let me know. All right, let's get to the episode. This is episode 232 on relationship empathy, married at first sight, and the 4 intimacy styles with Dr. Viviana Coles. Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being feely humans. You, Me, Empathy is a brave place designed to inspire the beauty in each of us, because each of us, in all of our kaleidoscopic parts, makes up a magical whole that deserves to be seen. Today, I'm grateful, excited, and overwhelmed at first sight because I'm here with marriage and family therapist, relationship and sex therapist, and intimacy expert on Lifetime's hit show, Married at First Sight. It's Dr. Viviana Coles. Hello.
Hi, Noan. Thanks for having me on. And I am really excited about this more than other times that I've spoken to people on podcasts, because I feel like I have no idea what we're going to get into. The unknown.
It's the unknown. I mean, that's where we find the magic, right? Is in the mystery, and it's a little uncomfortable. It's a little vulnerable, but that's where we find the gems, I think. So we always kick off the show, Viviana, with an emotional check-in. So how are you feeling?
I'm kind of, I guess emotionally, I'm feeling really excited. A little bit more anxious than normal. There are a bunch of changes that are, I can't say a bunch of changes. There's one big change that's about to happen that by the time this podcast airs, everyone will know about. But it's been weird keeping a secret, a secret, and I can't really share it with you, but I can tell you that it causes me both anxiety and excitement because I don't like lying, and I've had to lie for a while.
Is this a personal thing, or is it related to the show, or?
It's both. It's actually both, but mainly professional, just in general. And everything that I tend to do or work on becomes personal because it absolutely ends up involving my family life and my home life, and seeps into where I focus my energy. Mm-hmm. And so I like to think that everything that I work on is very personal, regardless of if it's business or otherwise. But yeah, I feel like my life is very much interconnected. Everything is interconnected. Mm-hmm. And so that's the sort of thing where I feel like this is just a lot of excitement wrapped up with anxiety and again, the unknown. So it's exciting.
Those two feelings often go hand in hand, the excitement and the anxiety. I empathize. I know that feeling well. Let's talk about the piece of like, what is interesting in what you're saying is this idea around how we show up in the world, especially in our personal lives, in our public lives, in our work lives. I tend to feel, and I wonder what you think about this, that it's hard to separate those things, right?
Very,
and
very hard.
I feel like workspaces, as an example, it feels like there is. I feel like workspaces are getting better at this, but there has been a legacy of sort of censoring or bypassing our wholeness as people. We have to show up a certain way. We have to like act a certain way. A lot of that has been tied to certain forms of like exclusion and division. But I want to show up in my whole humanity. And that's the exciting part of like spaces that feel safe. Tell me a little bit about your experience with that as a therapist.
Yeah. As a therapist, I feel like I've had to definitely be more conscious of the way that I present myself with clients. At Houston Relationship Therapy, which is my private practice, one of the rules that we have as a staff, or guiding principles that we have as a staff is that we don't want our clients to be distracted by who we are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to truly be able to focus on their issues, on being present, like you mentioned before, being present. And so one of the things that we've had to do is, we have little rules, like it's not like a uniform, but it's definitely a dress code. Mm-hmm. No cleavage, no open toe shoes. We don't wear any skirts that fall above the shin. Okay. We wear pants usually. We always want to look like we smell good and clean. Yeah. We want to look clean. And our makeup and our jewelry needs to be somewhat understated, but it needs to be present. And all of that is to say, it's not so much to limit us, or to kind of put us into a box, but it's to make it to where there isn't anything super significant about our appearance that anybody's going to focus on.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And because of the subject matter that we tend to work with, which is sexuality and intimacy and oftentimes the lack thereof, we don't want people to see us as sexual beings. Obviously we are, but in the room, it's not about us being sexual objects or sexual beings. And so that's one of the things that we do to combat that, and actually works pretty well. We don't tend to have any issues with transference or countertransference or anything like that. Knock on wood, right?
Yeah.
But that makes sense. That's one of those, it's like our personhood is evident in our empathy and in the way that we're able to relate the issue at hand to, and normalizing it. But we don't tend to talk about ourselves as therapists. We don't tend to disclose. Like I have those boundaries in the public eye as well, as being on the show, having kind of this public persona. I am very protective of my home life, and I'm protective. A lot of people don't even know that I have kids. A lot of people don't know that I'm married, and I have 2 kids, and I've been married for 15 years. So I just tend to protect that. Yeah. Because I don't know. I don't want to fall. I don't want to be like, oh, I'll deal with the issue when it shows up. No, I'd rather not. Yeah. I have so many other things that I want to be able to work with openly and freely and be vulnerable that with my personal life, not so much.
That makes sense. I mean, especially since on one level you have the sexuality, you have the relationship stuff, intimacy stuff, which is deeply vulnerable and rooted in a lot of shame for people, and there could be that transference piece. So like having that coming in with the expectation, or with the, as you put it, like this sort of understated uniform to sort of dispel any of that, I think is an act of empathy, because you're sort of like, that's not here. This is about you. I'm not centering myself here. Mm-hmm. And then you being on this show, right? Like that puts you in the public space. And so,
which is very different.
It's very different.
Feel very differently about the way that I present myself on TV versus in therapy. On TV, I definitely want to feel like, I want it to be kind of this, I want to be seen. Mm-hmm. And I want to, and when you're on TV, attention goes to people that you want to look at, whether it's because they stand out because they've got a nice voice, or that, personality can come through, but not as much as the way that you express yourself through your clothing or through your style.
Gotcha.
And so I have totally embraced that. It was never something that they asked me to do, but I just said, you know what? I get to dress so boring every day at work and at home, especially through a pandemic. I'm going to have so much fun with my style and the way that I dress, and really tap into things that I would never wear in therapy.
Yeah.
When I'm on TV. And it's a lot of fun. I get to express a different side of myself in a way that I think is professional and classy, but definitely a much louder look than I would at home.
Yeah. That's interesting. That makes sense. You're wearing a costume's not the right word, but like you get to explore different parts of yourself or your interests in a way that's in this container of being on television, right? That's cool. So the first, just like setting the context, I am married. I've been married in a couple of weeks, will be 12 years with my partner, Jessica. And marriage is hard and wonderful and all of the above things, right? I first saw your show, Married at First Sight, on Netflix, actually, when I guess a couple months ago
came out. Oh, season 10. Okay,
season 10. We watched season 10, and I had never heard of the show. But from someone who's like has been steeped in mental health advocacy and is interested in psychology and all these things, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating show. So I guess putting that to you, like how did you become a part of it? Like, what was your interest in it? Did you have an interest in it before you became part of it? I guess, were you there season 1? I don't know, because I haven't seen season 1.
I was not actually. My first season was season 9.
Okay.
And that was actually the first season that was out on Netflix. And it actually really helped to bring people to the franchise of Married at First Sight and to see it.
Yeah.
And then season 10 has done the same thing, 2 years after season 9 came out, season 10 came out. And even people who don't watch live are totally falling in love with the show through Netflix or through streaming services, even though Hulu and other ones have had all of them forever. But I guess Netflix is just such a huge platform.
Yeah.
So for me, I came on when there was an opening for an expert, and I had already been in contact with the production company for about 2 years prior and didn't have anything come of that. And the reason that I reached out to them 2 years prior was because for the previous 4 years, I actually went back and looked because I get this question so often. For the previous 4 years, I had been approached by different production companies who were looking for experts in relationships and sex and intimacy. And they would find me online and they would reach out and say, hey, we're trying to get a show going. We'd love to interview for it. And this was very much Skype and all of that. But prior, they're always ahead of that. So they've been using Skype to get these things done for a long time.
Yeah.
And nothing ever came of that. But what it did help me to understand through the experiences of saying, yes, I'll help you to try to do this, even if I don't end up on a TV show, is that I learned how to talk about what I do and what I do with clients in a very succinct way. And in a way that was relatable to lots of different people, which isn't really something that a lot of people have to do. They don't often have to talk about their profession as often, I think, as someone like I do on TV has to do. And so I got really good at that. And I remember thinking, I've just had my 4th production company in the past 4 years or 3 years or whatever, reach out to me and say, hey, we think you'd be great to try to get the show on TV. And why don't I see what happens when I reach out to a production company who already has some great programming, who's already established and already has TV shows? And that's what I did. And within a week, I had already met with them. But it wasn't until 2 years down the road when there was an opening on the expert panel that they said, we want you. And I was available. And then 5 days after I signed my contract, I was filming. So
Wow.
yeah.
So yeah, it's so fascinating. And I was very curious about that. So for the listeners, if you aren't aware, the conceit of the show is that there's a panel of experts and a bunch of people will apply to this show, right? And people who want to be in a marriage, who want to be in a partnership, and people who have struggled, right?
Very much so. Yeah.
And relationship experts and you and others and therapists sort of like do their sort of data crunching, and then they pair people. And then the first time they see each other is on their wedding day, and then they get married. And then the rest of the show is this fascinating sort of, how long is it? 8 weeks?
It's 8 weeks.
8 week period where they are filmed and they live together and they go on a honeymoon and
they do all the things that a lot of newlyweds would do. Yeah.
But it's this wild, bonkers, like time crunch of a process, right? Which is so fascinating to me. To you, Viviana, like, what have you learned from the perspective of like human connection and what that means in sort of being witness to, I guess, these couples the past couple of years?
Well, I love that I can get deep with this with you, because I think that what I found so fascinating is that there is such a tightrope walk between trying to share and be vulnerable and be who you authentically are and being who you think a good married, healthy, relationship person is. And it's all having to happen at the exact same time. You're having to make those split-second decisions. These participants are obviously very brave, but to walk that line on TV, like documented on camera with someone new that they are legally married to, I'm always in awe of them. I really am. Whether they are, whether they're doing it gracefully or not, whether they're successful or not, I'm always in awe of the choices and how quickly they're able to make the choice of, I'm going to share who I am, but I'm also going to be conscious that I might be a different person when I'm with you. And a lot of people, I don't think, ever really consider how difficult that is. A lot of our viewers who are, I guess, online and who are talking about the show, because the show has a really big following online, obviously much more large following is not online, but the ones who talk online, I've seen some of the conversations and in my comments, and everybody has kind of this opinion, right? And it's their opinion of how they should be doing this process.
Sure.
And anyone who's been through this process, which is a select few, they would tell you, you can say that you would do this, you can say that you would do that, or not do this or not do that, but you don't know until you're in it. Even as an expert on a panel of 3, I can tell you the way that I would do things is probably different than Pastor Cal and the way that Dr. Pepper would do it. And that's just among the 3 of us. So I'm just always in awe of how they make those choices, because, they are married. There's no like, okay, cut. What do we do now? And it's not scripted.
Yeah. It's so fascinating. The piece, the two sides you're talking about, the one wanting to be vulnerable enough to show your partner your whole self, but also not knowing them really very well yet. Right. And so there's naturally going to be that armor. There's naturally going to be some even performance there, right? Like trying to sort of guess what this person wants me to be. And I certainly remember doing that early in my relationship. There was a lot of performance, a lot of probably people pleasing and a little codependency, a little bit. Right. And so what's fascinating about the show is that it is such a short time period. And it's why I'm grateful that there are regular check-ins with you and with the other experts to reflect. Because there are moments when I was watching it, I'm just like, I get frustrated, right? Like, oh, why would you do that? But then, like you said, I can't go there. I have to take a step back and understand, well, I'm not in this cooking, this time bomb of a pressure situation, being on camera, and then seeing, certain people, getting upset by the cameras, which is understandable, right? Like it's
human.
stressful. It's stressful.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's stressful to find love, right? This idea of finding love. And then you add the layer of like, oh, we're going to show the world. It's stressful.
How you do that. Exactly. Yeah. And then of course, I think what makes this particular process so much more intense than maybe other marriage shows or dating shows is that they are legally married. And I know we say it over and over again, but there are still people who DM me like, well, if they're not really married, then I'm like, oh gosh, no, if they are.
Yeah.
So we're talking about people who are now only able to determine their own futures and their own outcomes legally. I mean, nobody could force you or I to leave our respective spouses. Like nobody can do that. I mean, I know I'm married and I don't know if you are legally married, but yes. So nobody can take you to the courthouse and force you to do anything.
Yep.
But I think that what I find is that their determination to see where could this go? Where could this go in a few short weeks or a few short months?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think a lot of people stay in situations that they're like, this marriage is not serving me well, but what's a few more weeks? What could happen?
Right.
We're talking about weeks. We're not talking about years or months. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that every day in Married at First Sight marriage is like a month.
Yep.
That's what our participants have said.
It's like dog years.
Exactly. So as a therapist, I can share, hey, you're going down an unhealthy road. This isn't okay. I can't imagine that your partner feels validated or respected by you when this is going on. But if their partner is saying, I feel like there's something more to explore here and I want to give them a chance to change, or let's see what it is that I can do to help them not respond in this way that maybe they've responded that way in every other relationship. Who am I to tell them, no, we're marching over to the courthouse and we're going to make you divorce? Like that just doesn't work. And as a therapist, I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah, I love that. So my partner, Jessica, asked me when we first met, like, did you feel it right away? And the answer was like, honestly, yes. I'm telling you, Viviana, honestly, yes. Like it was one of those things where it was just like, okay, this feels right. And I was in my later 20s, right at that point. I think we're about the same age. And it felt right. But like, of course, that doesn't always happen, right? So are you open to sharing about your, personal relationship, like how you met your husband and what it was like when you first met?
Yeah, we have what I think is a sweet story. My husband, I was in 6th grade and he was in 7th grade, and it was our first day. It was his first day at my school. And I remember seeing him at the top of the stairs and just being like, okay, that's a weird feeling I'm having.
And you're in 6th grade. So you're,
and I'm in 6th grade.
14?
I was 12.
12. Yeah. Okay. 12. Yeah.
I was 12 and he was 13. And I remember thinking, okay, this is like the cutest guy that I've ever seen. He looked back at me and I didn't realize that he was whispering to a friend. They had just made a bet for $5 as to who would get my number first. And I remember I was like, okay, this is interesting. So we went to class. But since that day, that was it. Like,
wow.
First kiss, first love, first all of that. And I just felt that was my template for love. I had crushes before. I've always, it's funny, especially now that I have a teenage daughter, but I've always felt very in tune with love and romantic love. I've always felt like that's something that's been in my sphere of experience, and not so much boy crazy, quote unquote, but just in that, like, I don't know. And I think because my parents have been married forever, they met when they were 16. Again, the role models around me and all of my aunts and uncles, like it was, you meet someone young, you marry them.
Love was in the air.
Love was in the air. Yes.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't out of the realm of possibility that I would fall in love. Now, that said, after about a year and a half of dating, we got caught kissing in the chapel. And my parents said, okay, no, that's not going to happen. And they actually yanked me out of that school that I had been to since I was in first grade and sent me to the all girls private Catholic school down the road.
Okay.
And
because you were kissing or because you were in the chapel? Was it the kissing?
No, it was definitely the kissing in private that they were concerned about and what that could possibly lead to.
Sure.
That could make, my entire life trajectory change. And I don't blame them, especially being in the profession that I'm in now. I think it's really important that they realized, okay, we need to make some changes for you because you're obviously more than in love with this person. And we know that if this is where you're at right now in 7th grade at that point, high school, shoot. I mean, teen pregnancy happens all the time. And, and on top of that, I don't know that they necessarily wanted me to have the same exact experience of meeting somebody when you're 16, marrying when you're 20, and really never having experienced any other types of relationships romantically. So they had to make very quick decisions. I'm really glad that they did. I think and at that point, no phones. I didn't have a car. So we just kind of grew apart. And then 10 years later, we each had our own lives, and there was a reunion, and by the end of the night, we're talking and everybody's just looking at us like, yep, that's about right. And 6 months later, we eloped.
Wow.
So, and now we have a daughter going to that same private school. So.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. So
I love that.
It was a really positive, I've had really positive experiences in the few but very strong romantic relationships that I've had. And that's why I kind of feel like I want that for other people. Not that I want everybody to have what I have, but I want them to feel like being with someone else can happen. Yeah. And it can be forever. But it is work. We were talking about this. It is work.
It is.
I can't say that it's always hard work if you keep it at top of mind, but that's how it is with anything. If you're practicing, if you have a routine, if you're, educating yourself, if you're communicating about something, it makes it a little bit easier to have it be a regular part of your life. It's the same thing, I think, with marriage and relationships.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's with people and in connection with people is how we grow as humans, right? So doing it alone is hard. And really, I think we're kind of useless alone, to be honest. I think we need each other. And so whether it's the institution of marriage or a partnership, whatever that looks like, I think we need people. We need humans in our sphere. What have you, one thing that I've been sort of talking about with Jessica is this, because I've changed. I'm 40, I'll be 41 in July. I've changed over the last decade immeasurably, tons, just so much change. And it's been beautiful change. And with change, as you know, comes grief and loss and all these things, right? And at times it's been hard for Jessica, right? And we've talked about it and been open about it. How have you changed in your relationship? And has you becoming sort of more of a public figure? Has that been hard on your relationship? Has that been, whatever the conversations have been like?
Yeah, that's, again, you have some really great questions because I don't often get asked this, but I feel it. I've definitely, over time, I feel like in my personal life and who I am as a wife, I've kind of relaxed into it more. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've kind of the building of trust has allowed me to just not take everything and say, forecast 10 years down the road, which again is something that a lot of newlyweds do.
Absolutely.
In the process of Married at First Sight, it's the same way where they think, oh, this person talked to me like that. Well, that's how it, I mean, or this person only wants to spend money on this. Well, that's how it's going to be forever. And I find that I've had to really kind of say, no, who we are right now is not going to be the same person that we're going to be after we have a child, after we move across the country, after we change our jobs. Like,
Yep.
we have to be okay with saying, and I'll speak for myself. I know that I've had to be okay with saying, it doesn't always have to be the way that I want it to be for it to be really good. And when you have a partner that you can trust and who you really truly feel and have evidence through action that they want you to be happy and they want you to feel at ease in your life. And it's not all about, jumping through hoops or proving yourself. You can just kind of relax back and things kind of come to you and joy comes to you.
Yeah.
And so that's how I feel like I've changed as a wife, is I just kind of let go a lot more than I think I did because, he met me and I was going through grad school for marriage and family therapy. So this was very top of mind.
Right.
I was already a certified sex therapist at that point, but which was, I think, a trip to tell him that, because he was like, wait, what? You do what? And I'm like, well, let me tell you what it's not. Okay. And then that's all you need to know. But he's also, I think we communicate so much, even if it's nonverbal, we communicate so much that every once in a while, and I will tell you, traveling for this show in particular, because we film 2 seasons a year, I was doing a second show called Married at First Sight, Unmatchables. And I mean, there was a lot of time apart, a lot of, just time away from home. And we were able to stay connected, but there were times where there was like okay, we have to have a date night right now. Or can we talk? Like, what's going on? And
I feel
but
that.
again, when you're both conscious of the needs of your relationship, then you don't let it go too far. And that's one of the things when he gets asked, what's it like being married to a marriage therapist? And he'll say, well, we don't let things get out of hand. We tend to nip things in the bud really quickly. And that may not happen if it's not on top of mind for most people.
I love this idea of sort of softening and taking a little bit of the pressure off your shoulders as you deepen into a relationship. That's like a really beautiful vision of what a relationship could be, because as you know, like, there is that anxiety, there is that pressure, there is that maybe even control response that we want early on in a relationship. And as you build that trust and as you deepen that love and get better at communicating with each other and knowing what you want and knowing what your partner wants, it gets easier and you can soften. And with the softening comes even a deeper capacity for growth, which is amazing.
Well, I think so too. And it's interesting because I think if I looked at my husband's position on this, I don't know that he would describe it the same way, but what I've at least noticed of who he's become as a husband and as a true partner is that he likes, I don't know if he likes to, but he has been able to kind of help me with limits. He kind of grounds me. Not that that's his job or that it's become his job now that I'm like all over the place, but he does tend to, with like a look or maybe just a well-placed pause in a sentence, he will let me know, okay, it's great to dream big, but how is that going to work?
Yes.
Because it's the weirdest thing. Professionally, I feel like I have grown so much. Just creatively, I feel like I've grown so much. My confidence has never been better or higher. Like I feel, and it has nothing to do with being in the public eye, because a lot of the things that I'm talking about are projects that people don't know anything about unless they're working directly with me. But it just feels so good to help people. And when you can really help people and you get the response that you want, it's so rewarding. And I feel like that's what feeds me. That probably feeds my ego more than anything else. I mean, obviously my husband and the kids are in my family. My whole family is amazing. But what I think really feeds my ego is knowing that there is a positive outcome from the help that I'm giving others. Sometimes it's not like the intended outcome, but it definitely happens.
Yeah.
And I think that's the high that I'm always chasing. Now that I think about it, Noam.
I relate to that.
Really? Tell me
I do.
how.
Well, so with this show, I've been doing this podcast you're on, You Me Empathy, I've been doing for the past 4.5 years. And I created it because I wanted to give people a space to be vulnerable and feel, as safe as possible in their feelings and in their mental health and in all of it, which is not something I had growing up. It was a very violent childhood. And now I'm leading empathy workshops and emotional curiosity workshops and stuff around Southern California. And it's beautiful. And when I am like talking about empathy and recently this happened a couple of weeks ago, I led this empathy workshop and and I'll mention her in a bit later. But this beautiful person named Natalie, who became disabled through the pandemic because of COVID, was there, and she was giving herself this beautiful grace and empathy. And she said something, "I didn't know what I didn't know," which is just this beautiful act of self-empathy. And I was like welling up, and she was welling up. And it's just like, there are moments like that I live for, because it's like, empathy, I feel like is a crucial part of any relationship. It's a crucial part of living. And so that's the stuff that lights me up and I want more and more of. But yeah, I relate like heart to heart so deeply with what you're saying. And I would love to hear from your perspective on like how, in your personal life or on the show, however you want to take it, how empathy plays a role in relationships.
Well, I can tell you that I had to really, some of it was intentional research, but most of it was just through work with my clients. When I was writing the 4 Intimacy Styles book over the course of the pandemic, I remember thinking, I know that people don't get into relationships hoping for them to crash and burn. I know that most people, the vast majority of people, when a relationship ends, I don't think that they always know why, but they can pinpoint that there are a few causes that tend to lead towards the demise of a relationship. But what I think a lot of people don't do, that I'm hoping that the 4 Intimacy Styles will help them do, is to understand that just because someone experiences a different, motivation for sex than they do, that it doesn't make them wrong, that it doesn't make them less than. And what I'm really trying to do is get people to experience empathy for different motivators for sex. The 4 of them are bonding, release, giving, and responsive. That all of them are equally important. And that if all 4 are present in an ideal world, round out your intimacy style and make it 25% of each, and have that be present in every sexual experience, then you can rest more assured that you're going to be able to have your physical connection withstand the test of time.
Yeah.
And I find that if somebody is able to take a step back and say, just because sex doesn't mean to my partner exactly what it means to me, that doesn't mean I can't honor it. Because you're going to have to honor somebody else's feelings in order to remain connected to them.
Yeah.
The minute you don't respect someone, that's it.
Yeah.
And if it continues to happen over and over again, it becomes abusive. And that hopefully somebody will put an end to it by ending the relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I've really been trying to do is get people to understand that there is a way to show empathy sexually without it meaning that you're compromising yourself, or that you're disrespecting yourself, or that you're, kind of letting go of your own wants and needs. That it's okay to think about somebody else, and it's okay for them to think about you.
Well, and it can happen simultaneously. It can happen all at once, right? I mean, empathy is not, or empathy is something that has to come with self-awareness, right? Like we have to go inward before we go outward. So we have to know what we like sexually, and therefore, that will help us sort of integrate that with someone who has a different intimacy style, right?
Yeah. Well, and as a certified sex therapist, I'm always dealing with people who maybe their sexual desires look different than mine, but that
Sure.
doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
And a lot of people don't seek out services, for sexual help because they think that they're going to be judged. And fortunately, somebody who's certified like myself, or through a reputable program, I have a certification program called the National Sex Therapy Institute, and we're very sex positive, but we understand that as a clinician, just because it's okay for somebody else doesn't mean that it's okay with you, but that doesn't mean you can't be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We are people and we do have our own sexuality and our own limits and restrictions and things that we like and things that we don't.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think a lot of people do feel like therapists, I think there are two camps. One is that a therapist can only be helpful if they've gone through what you've gone through. And then other people they realize what I tend to kind of gravitate towards is the idea that, no, I actually don't think you need to have gone through what I do, because I want to go through this without you imposing the way that you did things. It doesn't, which I think a lot of people will say, oh, I only want to go see a therapist for my marriage if they've been married. Well, they can certainly be helpful even if they haven't, because your marriage is not going to be like their marriage, no matter what.
I think that's where empathy can be truly transformative, in that it's not, I always say it in my workshop, it's not just about the shoes. Yes, that can be a part of it, but like we contain multitudes as humans, right? We can go there emotionally if we do the work. Like we can understand on a human level so many parts of the human experience. And there's a piece of it there too. You made me think of it, in regards to like wanting to see a therapist who's gone through the same experience. There's also a thing that we do culturally where we want to valorize people in sort of high esteem places, like a therapist who has all her doctorates, like you're a very credentialed, and you have your doctorate and your master's, and it's a wonderful thing. And as humans, we can learn from everyone, right? Yeah. It's this idea that you can't learn from a kid or something, right? And I think that's you're just shutting yourself down for possible growth, right? Open mind is what I say. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And I think that the people who go through not just the married at first sight process, but also maybe first time therapy clients, open mind is super important. Because if you go into it thinking, I only want to hear this, well, you don't need to go to a therapist to do that. And you don't need to spend time and money to do that. You can go to a best friend, you can go to your family member and say right, I'm thinking this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We need all of them.
Yes. You can have that and.
Yes. So this book, For Intimacy, I can't say that word, For Intimacy Styles. How's that been going? Like, you wrote a book in the pandemic, which is a wonderful achievement. Like, how has the book tour been going? How do you feel about it?
Well, I didn't really know I didn't have any goals or expectations for it, because I just knew that I wanted to own it and I wanted to be able
Love
to
that.
do whatever I wanted with it. So I professionally self-published. I knew that I had been researching that for like the past 3 to 4 years prior to launching the book. As a businesswoman, I just said, you know what, I'm going to look at this as a very long-term thing. One of the things that really helped me to think kind of more like that the book could have longevity is the 5 love languages. You know, it came out in 1992. Most people don't know that. Most people like discovered it yesterday. And I
That's so interesting. You're right. And it's like,
and I remember
it's in the zeitgeist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. Every day, the lexicon of life and love. But I remember listening to a podcast. Again, this was in my research from Dr. Gary Chapman, the author of the 5 Love Languages. And he said that he had wished that he had self-published because, I mean, how great would have that been had he, you know, even now, like, and so I thought about that and I thought, you know what, if I don't have any real expectations other than to talk about it to anyone who will listen, to share it freely, to put it out there as something that is a helpful tool. It's true. Maybe not everybody's going to ever hear about it, but some people will. And again, that helping, that idea.
And you're
that,
proud of it.
And I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's my voice. It's my thoughts. It's the work that I've done with clients since 2003. I remember just kind of feeling like I need to put this out there in written format. A lot of people had been asking if I had a book out. I was like, no, I'm going to wait until things slow down. Things don't slow down, known. They never do.
Yeah,
especially not when, you know, when you say yes to everything like I do. So yeah, I'm really proud of it. The book tour has been fun, which is the only way that I wanted to do it, was to have it be fun. It is one of those things where every single book tour stop, I'm pairing up with a female entrepreneur, somebody who who is a small business, who wants to promote it. I link up with them and we come up with a really fun event and a fun idea. Nice. The one that we have coming up in June is in Denver. And I'm doing an event with Venetia, the urban seductress. And she does some really great empowering dance classes that kind of help with femininity and sexuality or feminine masculinity, like all of that, like it's just to empower yourself.
Very cool.
And it's great. It's to kind of get into your body and understand and own your sexy is the name of the event. So
love it.
That's not something I could have ever done with a traditional publisher. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you get to kind of create the vision for yourself, which is, yeah, that's beautiful.
And I get to do it with flexibility, which is actually one of the most valuable pieces of control in my life. It's to be able to have flexibility. And that's another reason that I was drawn towards therapy. And I knew that I wanted to go into private practice was because I knew I wanted to have love and I knew I wanted to have a family. And I figured, you know, and in private practice, I'd be able to make that happen and be flexible. And it has been exactly more than what I hoped and expected, but it's just a wonderful thing. And, you know, I feel like I have a good head on my shoulders still. I feel like I still know that my path is to help people who are experiencing emotional and physical intimacy issues and relationship issues. And that hasn't changed with anything that's going on. I've held on really tight to my private practice. And, you know, I found some really great relevant partnerships that I'm excited about. And to be excited about my profession, you know, nearly 20 years down the road, like that's awesome. I feel like that's a huge win for me.
That's amazing. It's, you know, we can all hope and dream to have that in our lives. That's beautiful. Are you coming out to Southern California on your book tour?
So I have plans to go to San Francisco, but
okay.
I might, and of course, LA, that's a given because I'm always over there. But
right.
I did also kind of want to do San Diego, but it just seems like the cities are piling up. When am I going to do this? Yeah, it's difficult to do all of that. But we'll see. I mean, again, I can be doing this for the next few years if I wanted to. There's
why not?
Really no end in sight.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I love it. Well, let's transition into our empathy heroes. I sort of forecasted this earlier. This is the part of the show where you, Viviana, and I mention someone in our lives who is an empathy hero. Empathetic, compassionate, feely, there for us, sees us, hears us, all those things. I will go first. I mentioned her earlier, but it's Natalie from my recent Feely Human Empathy workshop. I feel so lucky and grateful that I get to connect and be witness to beautiful moments of recognition that, like, we as humans have value and worth and are enough and are not alone. And it's beautiful. And I'm grateful that I get to be a part of it. And so, Natalie, if you're listening to this, you're my empathy hero this week.
Oh, that's really sweet. So the person that came to mind immediately is my best friend / cousin, Angel. She, oh, you're going to make me cry already. She knows how to raise me up if I need it. And she also knows, again, how to ground me. Mm-hmm. But she knows how to do it in a way that preserves our relationship. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people know how to do that.
Yeah.
And she is not just like that with me. She's like that for lots of people, friends and family. And so she definitely has a gift. And the fact that I'm able to call my best friend my cousin, and my cousin my best friend, I just feel like it's really, really special for me. And so, Angel, you are my empathy hero.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah, we all need an angel in our lives. Wonderful. Well, Dr. Viviana, where can the lovely Feely humans out there connect with you? Obviously, order your book for intimacy styles, etc.
Awesome. Well, yes, all the Feely humans out there, please join me online or on my website at Dr. Viviana. Just spell it out. Dr. Viviana is Viviana. There are so many free resources on my website. I would love for people to check in with my podcast appearances. Your podcast link will be on there, so people will definitely be able to hear this podcast for a long, long time. But yeah, I have a retreat coming up with Arosante retreats. We're going to be doing intimacy retreats for couples. Luxury intimacy retreats was another dream come true for me. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm just super excited to connect with all of you. I love hearing from every single person. Send me an email, send me a DM. As long as you're respectful, I will totally respond. And I thank you so much for the opportunity, Nan.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Dr. Viviana. And to you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here. We're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring, pale blue dot. We have each other. It's Yumi Empathy.